As I'm sure you guys know, Firefox is by far my favorite browser. That's why I use it every... wait, that's Helium, the Chromium fork that is way more private and better performing. No worries, I'm going to switch over to Firefox now. Oh, that's Zen Browser, a customizable browser that I use for most of my content. I guess Firefox isn't really a browser I like a whole lot. Okay, jokes aside, if you've been around for a while, you know that Firefox has been the butt of a lot of my jokes for as long as I've been doing content for, honestly. I've had so many problems with Firefox for a very long time. And while I could rant forever about the WebRTC issues in particular, that's water under the bridge. I've moved away from the WebRTC world. I'm just doing more general development stuff. And I'm still running into a lot of problems with Firefox. I have a bunch of small to medium-sized issues with Firefox that have been annoying me immensely, but also have been kind of holding back the web. One that bothered me a lot was this gradient issue, where gradients just didn't render right at all. Another one that's holding back a lot more of the web is the lack of support for view transitions, a standard that'll allow for web pages to change as you navigate them and go between different places. There's a lot of these little things that have been bugging a ton of developers that you might not notice as a user of Firefox, but I promise you they are holding us back as developers. There are things that we want to do with our apps, with our tools, with the whole web ecosystem that are regularly held back by Firefox not adopting things quickly enough. And while I am still disappointed at how slow a lot of these things have been, Firefox version 144, which just dropped, has meaningfully improved on a lot of the pain points I have been feeling personally. I want to take the time to call out this release for the improvements that it brings, not just for Firefox users, but for the web as a whole, because the floor, the base, the lowest point for the browsers that we have to support as developers every day just had a massive level up. Firefox is currently paid billions of dollars from Google in order to have Google as the default search engine. Google pays me a significantly smaller amount of money, so let's take a quick break for today's sponsor, and then we'll dive right in. As smart as AI has gotten, it's pretty bad at some things, in particular, browsing the web. Not because the AI can't do it, in fact, it's pretty good at that part, but it actually needs a browser to browse with, and that is not a trivial thing to implement. Unless you use today's sponsor, Browserbase. These guys built a browser for AI. What the hell does that mean? It means they built a serverless platform that you can just call when you need a browser, do some stuff, and then end it when you're done. No more spinning up a bunch of dedicated servers, just waiting for Puppeteer commands and never having enough or always having too much. No more chaos waiting for new servers to spin up as a request comes in. They just have these instances ready to go and a really good SDK and API in order to hit them. Seriously. You just spin up Playwright, you give them the connection string, and now you have an actual instance of Chrome running in the cloud. This is an actual Chrome instance, not on my machine, on their machine, that will be alive for as long as the session and will disappear when we're done. And there's a lot of little things that make doing this hard. Not just the managing of the infra, but more importantly, managing of access to the web. Things like getting around CAPTCHAs, dealing with IP address blocks and scraping prevention, all of those types of things. Not only has Browserbase solved most of those problems, they're also making strategic partnerships to make long-term solutions viable. The goal here is to allow content providers to charge money when the pages are being scraped. It's actually really funny that, as far as I know, they're the only company right now that has a deep partnership with Cloudflare, as well as a deep partnership with Vercel, because Vercel moved all of their real-time intelligence work over to use Browserbase. Yes, really. This is one of the few things that Vercel and Cloudflare seem to agree on, and if you want to figure out why, you should check them out today at soydev.link/browserbase. So what has changed that is so significant that I am once again talking about Firefox, a browser that I swore I would avoid talking about to the best of my ability? Let's dive in. They added a fancy focus tab feature. Cool. More tab groups updates. Yeah, not my thing. Profile management. Picture-in-picture hotkeys, visual search powered by Google Lens, the Google money showing a bit. Perplexity AI is also now an option. They're making more money. But these are not what I'm here for. I am here for web platform fixes. First thing is the element.moveBefore API. I love this API. I have done a whole video about how good this is. It lets you move an element in the browser without anything changing. So if you have a video playing in one place and you want to move it somewhere else, you don't have to delete it and recreate it. You don't have to do your best to try and keep the state in sync. Now you can call the move before API and move an element somewhere else and its state is maintained. So the distance in the video being played, the volume you have selected, the mute state, all of these things that you'd otherwise have to programmatically recreate when you make a new node are just handled with this DOM API. Very, very nice. I am hyped that this is now supported in Firefox, even though it's not marked there yet. Sadly, it's still not in Safari, so it's not quite ready for universal adoption and the expectation this will behave properly. But we are so much closer. And generally speaking, if Chrome and Firefox support a thing, Safari will get off their ass and do it. Some fun metric stuff, math shift, cool. And now we're in the part that matters for me. View transitions. The View Transitions API is going to enable so much cool shit on the web. For a fun example of how cool it is, we're going to go to Naman's blog. Naman is a CSS guru that used to work at Meta. Now he's at OpenAI. And his blog is some of my favorite examples of view transitions. Remember, none of what you're about to see is JavaScript. All of this is happening using browser standards and CSS, like very minimal CSS like flags applied to specific elements so that when the page navigates from one state to another, the browser creates the animations for you effectively. So watch what happens when I click blog. Did you see how his logo expanded and moved up? That's all using web standard stuff. That's not some crazy JavaScript moving elements around. Or if I click a title for one of these posts, it had to load the font the first time, so it stuttered out a little bit. Naman fixed this. I need this to be really good for my demos. But now when I click it, the words move. Do you know how annoying it would be to do this by hand with JavaScript? Obnoxious. But now, these types of transitions that make your experience navigating things way better, it's trivial now. Even on my blog, I added them forever ago. And I did a very basic one where it just fades in and out. And even that feels so much better than traditional navigation. It's so easy to add view transitions. And they're not just for navigating, like when the URL changes, which is historically really, really hard to do animations for. It's also for changes within the page, and you can group view transitions together by calling them all at once. React does this with the new React version. In fact, the React team has worked really hard on getting view transitions meaningfully adopted and integrated across all browsers because they plan on using view transitions as the main way to handle changes in React going forward. Because right now, if I have like a to-do list with items and I remove an item from the list, it's no longer in the DOM. You can't animate that which does not exist. Which means that instead, when I write the code to remove an element, I have to leave in a fake version, animate that, and then when the animation is done, actually remove it. Not good. With view transitions, the different states where one version has the element and the other doesn't can be handled by the browser. It's so nice. View transitions being finally supported by Firefox enables them to be actually used for new things going forward. So good. If we get more in the weeds on how it works, technically, in order for view transitions to work, you have to have different elements, but they use the same view transition name between the old and new ones, and then the browser handles the difference between them. It's so good. If you've used like Magic Move in Keynote, it's kind of similar to that. In and of itself, this is such a massive change that I'm genuinely super hyped about. We're finally seeing Firefox adopt the core level 1 standard for view transitions, which enables frameworks like React to more meaningfully integrate it. Mark my words, view transitions are about to become a very common thing that will make the whole web feel better and our lives as developers implementing them better too. Even mobile Safari already supports view transitions. Firefox was the last one, and they are very, very late, like years late to it. But it's here. It's happening. The web's about to get a lot better. Speaking of things that they are very behind on, gradients now work properly. Dithering is how you take the layers of a gradient and blur the gaps between them to make it look way smoother. I don't know how friendly the video encoding is going to be to this image that I shared earlier, so the link will be in the description as well if you want to look at it to see. Since this is an image, it'll render fine in any browser that does basic image rendering properly. The problem is that when you rendered a gradient, you'd end up with these stripes for the gradient because it just didn't handle the difference in color for each row effectively properly. Most gradient renderers and most browsers will dither it, which is effectively adding a little bit of noise between every layer to make it look significantly better. It's so, so egregious. And when I was working on this tutorial I was making, I was trying to use Zen more, which is a Firefox-based browser. And when I saw this, I just felt sick and had to complain about it online. Because I complained about this so much and I love Zen so much, they actually went and fixed this themselves back in June. Yes, they actually patched Firefox's bullshit themselves as we waited 15 years for Firefox to fix this. This issue was open for 15 years. It had largely died before I bitched about it a bunch. And then, after I bitched about it a bunch, all of a sudden, one of the contributors to Firefox dropped this image from my Twitter. This was not prioritized properly before because any individual case would have been triaged as minor visual, so people stopped reporting it. If we had individual sites report for all of these, the bug would probably be a clear priority 1. I'll set webcompat priority to P1 for now because it makes Firefox look really bad. Yeah, it was embarrassing. Thumbnail idea. Quality. This was 8 months ago, which honestly for Firefox timelines, not bad, but for other things in software, a little rough. Especially because it was fixed so quickly by the team over at Zen, which is just 2 guys hacking on a new browser together themselves. I still personally recommend if you want the Firefox experience and like the true open private solution, Zen's a really good option. I also really like Helium because I need Chromium for a lot of things, particular dev tools. It's really nice. So these are the 2 browsers I hop between. But the fact that the browser that Zen is based on, Firefox, is finally caught up to like 2020 standards is pretty nice. I am so thankful that we finally have compatibility for these core features for the web in Firefox because now it's a decent-ish browser, at least by 2020 standards. I know I said I wouldn't go too into the WebRTC stuff, but these are 2 really big changes that are very, very helpful. Firefox is so bad at non-standard video resolutions, and when I say non-standard, I don't mean like some random set of numbers. I mean anything different from like a basic like 720p 16:9 at 30 FPS. It falls apart so fast. And they, at the very least now, let me resize the media I get from the camera so I can crop and downscale to a resolution Firefox supports better. And they finally support the worker transfer on the data channel. Oh, that would have saved me so much time. I had to do a bunch of weird WebSocket stuff to handle this because Firefox wouldn't let me send the data I needed down RTC. Oh, finally. Firefox just got like 60% less annoying for me to support, and I feel good. And now my sights are focused on the real enemy of the web. I got nothing else on this. I'm excited. Having the web standards and having the web browsers evolve is so important for us to keep improving the experience people have as they navigate. I've honestly felt like Firefox is holding back the entire web for a while, and now they're holding it back a good bit less. So if you are a Firefox user that's felt guilty for my previous videos, you can feel a little less guilt now, and finally, you can look at gradients in a way that doesn't make your eyes bleed. I hope you guys appreciate the update here. I know I appreciate the update on their part. Let me know what y'all think. And until next time, peace, nerds.